Looks like it's only the three of us today.
Yeah. Hey, Graham, how are you?
Not too bad for a Wednesday. And of course, tomorrow is Juneteenth.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for tomorrow?
Um, Sleeping in for one.
Huh?
Sleeping in.
Yes, me too. Me too.
If you're free tomorrow, we have a Juneteenth Kirtan happening. It's in Seattle though, but if you have the day off, I would love to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. How's work going?
Uh, Kind of crazy, but yeah, that comes with the territory.
Mm. What are you doing now for work?
I'm doing pretty much the same thing. I've been working for the same company for a while, but I was temporarily in the claims investigation team, but
Mm.
things didn't quite work out. Management was not, it wasn't the best fit.
Got it. So is it like you have to go to the office for that work, right? It's not like a work from home?
Right. And I didn't mind going to the office. I'm kind of the outgoing type, as you can tell. Um, so going into the office, just interacting rather than working remotely like I am now again. And I've been working remotely for the past 5 years since
Mm.
March 2020. So um, just getting out is really makes a big
Yeah.
difference for me.
Yeah, being stuck up at home, sometimes I feel really lethargic and hard to, get to work. But like if you have a change of scenery, it's easier to, yeah, get in that mood, lock in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, Manya. Sorry, we took it a bit off the rails, but back to you.
No, it's good to check in. Thanks for joining, Dana. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining everyone. We'll have a little short wisdom Wednesdays today, and I'll start off with an icebreaker, which will get us going a bit. Let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be a fun game. Thanks, Grandma. I always love your reactions. Yeah, that'd be fun to play this. I don't think we've done it in our circle. But I will give everyone like and myself a minute to think about this because I know it's gonna be hard to think about even one fact. But let's just take a minute to write down like two truths and a lie. It doesn't have to be really big, it can just be like a very small thing. But yeah, just take a minute and I'm gonna write it on my notes app as well. Yeah.
Okay.
This is so much harder than I thought. Okay. Um, okay. Is everyone almost done? Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Oh, no worries, Dana. Thanks for joining while you're driving. Okay. And do you want to start us off today?
Sure. So I was about to reveal what is truth and what is a lie. I was gonna be like, okay, so the two truths are um I have played the clarinet, I have never broken any bones, and I don't like chocolate.
Okay. So you said you don't like chocolate and
I've played the clarinet
okay.
and I have never broken any bones.
Okay. Graham, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking the lie is I don't like chocolate.
Uh-huh.
The other two are true.
I'm thinking that too. I think he likes chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, was it that easy? I guess everybody likes chocolate mostly, but yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Graham, would you like to go next?
I lived in Japan for 2 years. I have traveled to Peru. I was there for 10 weeks, and I'm a big Hannah Montana fan.
I know the
Oh,
Japan one is true because I think you've talked about that one before because you were an English teacher in Japan, I think.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's true. So that 50-50 chance now.
I feel like maybe even Peru is true. And
Yeah.
what do you think?
No, I think that makes sense. I think Graham's an avid world traveler.
Oh my God. Then are you not a Hannah Montana friend?
Yeah.
I think that one's a lie.
I've done this in training classes and various jobs, and the two truths and a lie. And
Mm.
yeah, no, I was in Peru. Um, Matter of fact, when I came back, I was astonished that one of my college professors, her accent was horrible. And I was there just for that short period of time. Of course, I studied the language before I went down there. I studied it 2 years in high school.
Mm.
And yes, I was an English teacher in Japan. And it was just picture me 50 pounds lighter and with a full beard. That was me in Japan. I mean, I would have stood out as I am now, but with the beard, I mean, it was obvious. And people would not only stare at me, but point at me. And, oh, wow, look at the foreigner. And they didn't think I understood the language. It'd be like somebody looking like me who's speaking fluent Tamil or, like one of the other languages. Yeah, I'm sure there are Americans that learn Hindi, but
Mm.
Punjabi or Marathi or Telugu.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
for sure.
surprised how many languages you even know the names of and you say them really well.
Yeah, I know.
Thank
All right,
you.
Manya, your turn.
Very interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay. Um, okay, so I've moved 4 times. I love Phineas and Ferb, and I've watched it a dozen times. And then I can speak a little bit of Spanish fluently. Yeah. Or speak a little bit fluently.
Okay, I know that you speak Spanish because we were talking um, when we were in Redmond. We had the What was
The
that?
kid then in the park.
Yeah. Um, don't know about the other. Moving 4 times. I think that's also a truth. So the other one is a lie.
Okay. And what is your pick?
What were the other two? You've watched Phineas and Ferb a dozen times. You know Spanish, and
And I've moved 4 times.
I think it's the Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I've only watched it like 1 time, and that too not even in English. Um, anyways.
Not in English?
Yeah, there's like different languages. I've seen like some Spanish ones, and I grew up in India, so they had like a Hindi version. So I remember watching like one episode of that as a kid. But anyways,
How old were you when you came over to the US?
how old was I?
Huh?
Like when I moved?
Yeah.
I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So like
Because, I mean, talking with you, I would assume that you were born here because,
mm.
I mean, English is second nature. I mean, it's a very strong second language.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like when you move at a younger age, it becomes more instilled in you. Yeah, for sure. Okay, that was really fun. We should do that more often. Okay.
And
So,
I know she won't introduce herself because she's giving the
oh,
talk today, but today we have Manya giving the talk, and you all know her. She is the longest attending Wisdom Wednesday attendee turned host, and she is a student at UIUC, and she found her path of spirituality and bhakti when she was in middle school. And I think it's quite interesting because as a student, it's quite rare for someone at that age to pick up spirituality. So I think it's always nice to have a young perspective share what they think. And we are excited to see what you have to share.
thanks, Ian. And back at you because he gave this talk at a Soul Fest just recently, so I've just used his slides. So, we'll both be sharing our thoughts on this topic. Um, yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, so today's topic, we talked about identity and kind of uncovering that, and I'm going to start off with a quote. Does somebody want to read it out loud? Or I can share. Graham?
Sure. The world will ask you who you are. And if you don't know, the world will tell you. Carl Jung.
Yes, thank you. And we're going to come back to this quote towards the end of the session, but I just kind of wanted to put it out there. And there's also a quote I've heard, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And we'll talk about that more. Okay, now have any of you seen a map like this? I've seen one. Yeah? Okay. Have any of you been to the Woodland Park Zoo? Yeah? Okay, great. I haven't, but this sounds interesting. So I want to ask the question, what is the most important thing that you see on this map? And you can put it in the chat or say it out loud, anything that you notice in this map. The entrance? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let me see where the entrance is. Oh, there's different entrances. Wow. Tells you a lot about life, how people enter in different ways. Yeah, anything else?
mean, it tells you where certain animals are. I mean, there's the primates section. Um, there's the gift shop, but there's also the. I mean, it's been a while since I've been there, but I've been there
Mm,
many times. I mean, even as a like in grade school. Um,
okay. Yeah.
my
Yeah. Very
favorite was
cool.
the lions section. Um,
I'm trying to see where
something
that
about big cats. And of course,
is.
now where you grew up, Manya, people have a different attitude towards tigers. I mean, fear because
Mhm.
right there, here, growing up here, tigers. Oh, they're either in the zoo or they're someplace in the Indian subcontinent. But when they're right there and killing people,
Mhm.
yeah, different perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. I didn't put in the chat also. The key at the bottom. Let's see where the key is.
Okay,
Which key are you talking about?
I think the
Oh,
legend.
this?
Yeah, like the legend, the whole bottom
Mm,
part.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, what do the icons mean and stuff like that? Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, great ideas. I'm gonna pose you guys towards the answer because I don't want to give it away. Um, but imagine you are trying to go to the African savannah and to find your way. What would be the first thing you would try to find on a map?
You are here.
Yes. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, you are here. And in Bhakti Yoga, we start out with this question of asking ourselves where we are. And if we don't know, where we are right now, it'd be hard to go forward. Yeah. So that was fun. Okay. Oop. Let me.
I
Okay.
have to,
Perfect.
I have to say
Um,
something before we move on. When I was a teenager, I went with some friends to the zoo, and we were at the leopard enclosure. And in those days, it was cages rather than what it is now, where it's more of a natural habitat, emulation. But this leopard, I was looking at him, and he looked back and saw me staring at him, and he didn't like that. He bared his teeth, and
mhm.
sure, I'm a teenager, all cocky and think, "Oh, you can't do anything to me." Yeah, true.
Oh,
If
wow.
one of those bars in the cage, he would have dismembered me in probably 5 seconds.
Oh my God. No, that's crazy. I've also seen some people they actually capture animals and they're like train them to take pictures with visitors. And I saw this video of like someone being attacked by an animal because it's like it's still a wild animal, even if you're training it to take a picture. And yeah, I don't know. Anyways, thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad you're safe now. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so this transitions into just talking about labels. And most of us, we identify ourselves with different labels. For example, I am an engineer, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a parent, I'm a mom, I'm a husband, so many different things. And in a way, we're trying to pick up, different costumes and identities to feel almost secure within ourselves. And they are important. And if you ask me, what's your name? I'm not going to tell you I'm a spirit soul. I'm not going to say that to you because I'm going to say, oh, my name is Manya, and I'm going to have these designations I identify with. But it's kind of questioning that and asking who you are. Apart from these designations. And deep down, we know that these are different costumes. It's just kind of like you have a fancy dress competition and you dress up like something, and when you come back, you take it out and you're back to your own self again. Similarly, these are different things that we associate ourselves with. And I want to say sometimes these identities can be something that are even handed down to us by other people, and the perception people have about us and the future that they see for us. So it's either things that we are adding onto ourselves, or there are things that people are putting on us. So I just want to preface it by that. But then I want to ask this question: is this actually you? Is your job you? Is your family you? Because if I ask you, who are you? We can do this exercise. I'm going to ask you to point to yourself. Everyone, point to yourself. Okay. And okay, I see a lot of people pointing. Okay. And are you your cheek, Ian?
No.
Okay. And then Graham, I saw you point it here, right? Nice. What was your reason for pointing to that? Oh, you're muted.
It's the body that houses my soul.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, when we say who are you, I'm everything. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm, everything. I'm just pointing to myself, but it's asking that question is like, are you these designations, or that spirit soul inside? And we'll get deeper into that. But yeah, it's really hard to say who are you? I can't, because I have so many parts, like I can't just be like, I'm this body, because just there's so many. Um, yeah, and if you haven't taken the time to ask this question, it's also easy to say that I am my job, or I am my family, or I am my work, and so many things. But even identities change. You have one job one day as an engineer, and the next maybe you're, as a doctor. I don't know how that can happen, but maybe it happens. And even your identities change. So in some part of the way, they are also temporary. Okay, gotta move on. And I'm gonna give a question, and it might be a little morbid, but we have to get a little morbid to understand a lot of things in life. So, let's say a dear one passes away, when and when we say that, we say that they've passed away. But what has passed away? You see that they're there, their body is there, made of all the elements, but what has really passed away? And when you go deeper inside, we find that it's the spirit soul, which is eternal and it's moving, but it's just taken from one body to another. And I can give another example. Let's say, have you guys seen puppet shows as kids? Or one puppet show? Yeah, so sometimes when kids will look at these puppet shows, they'll look at the puppet moving, and they'll actually think it's real. And when the puppet show is over, they'll go back and they'll look at it. Oh, it's just a hand. It's just like a puppet hand, and it's lifeless. And the body similarly is lifeless without that spirit soul. Um, even if we take an example of a glove, um, when you put a hand into it, then it has life. So yeah, so that's the spirit soul inside, and that consciousness is that driving force that gives life to our body. Now I'm gonna share a verse from the Gita, and I'm gonna try to read the Sanskrit too. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूय जो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीर. And the translation goes, for the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being. He is and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. And I know that was a lot to dissolve, so we're going to have a little bit of reflection. We don't have to answer all these questions, anything that you might feel comfortable in. Here are some examples that I have. We can also do some general reflections, but I'm discussing like what are the various designations that you identify with? What makes it difficult to let go of the external designations? And then what if you were able to shed these identities and simply consider yourself a spiritual being, tiny within the entirety of the universe, and an agent of love and service? How would you feel and what would you do? We'll take maybe 20 seconds to kind of reflect within ourselves or more if you need time. Yeah. And maybe give me a thumbs up if you're ready to share. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Karen. All right. Thanks, Ed. All right. Does anybody want to start us off? Karen, go ahead.
Various designations have been a child, a baby, toddler, student, father, husband, an English teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also been tech support rep, customer service, claims investigator. We wear many hats. And I know it sounds like I'm going off on a tangent, but often I talk about my own father. And he wore many hats. All those, he was Western traffic manager for a railroad in Chicago, which is now part of a big conglomerate. But traffic manager, what's that? Well, he would route sales of pulp wood products back east. And he was essentially, it was sales work that he did. But he was also an inventor. He, there's an expression, necessity is the mother of all invention. Well, that's how he operated. He thought, okay, something needs to be done to make things easier. So he would actually make things. And of course, he was a father, husband, son, father, grandfather, and it's been 20 years since he passed, but it's still, I still feel the effects. And he actually scattered his ashes in the mountains because that was his wish. So again, here I'm playing a part of not necessarily a dutiful son, but in this case, yes, because that was what he wanted.
Yeah.
And I have actually, getting back to myself, I've been able to shed some of these identities. I wouldn't mind teaching English again, because it was a lot of fun. But right now, I can't. No, I'm not an English teacher.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, we are definitely, I have to remind myself each time We're an infinitesimal part of the universe. And I'd like to think of myself as an agent of love and service.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for sharing those identities. And yeah, it's not harder. I mean, it's not easy to strip those off. And with each identity, we may even have some memories that are really helpful and we're attached to. So it's not an easy task. Yeah. I guess I can also share designations. I would say a daughter, a student, a friend, um, someone who practices bhakti yoga or likes that practice, um, someone who likes to cook, not a chef. I don't know. I don't know if I call myself a chef yet. But yeah, I like cooking. And then I would say it makes it difficult, like you mentioned, like when you look at that part of your life, you want to kind of feel attached to it and you feel like, I am this. And I feel that a lot of fights and disagreements that happen in my life is because I attach myself so much from these identities that they happen. So it's harder because at that moment it feels like this is me because I don't know anything else that could be me, I guess sometimes. Um and what if you were able to shed these identities um and feel like an agent of love and service? I think I would feel happy and more content within myself and yeah, and more open to giving it to other people instead of kind of containing it within myself. Yeah. And do you want to share something? Sorry to put you on spot, but
Yeah. Um, various designations I identify with, you know, I guess ones that are very popular now are like male, and then my age, which is 22, and my career, which would be like IT, and I'm a brother, and yeah. um, and what makes it difficult to let go of the external designations? I would honestly say I think it's partially because of what society wants, right? I feel like to some extent the designations I give myself is due to what are the expectations of society so I can meet those expectations. And what makes it so difficult to let go is because of the societal expectations out of me. And if you were to shed those identities and simply consider yourself a spiritual being, tiny within the entirety of the universe and aged of love and service, how would you feel? What would you do? I feel like a lot of what we do sometimes is to some extent please others, right? It might be, oh, I want to be rich and famous. Why? Because it'll make me happy. But deep down, we know it doesn't really make us that happy, but it's just quote unquote cool to be rich and famous. Um, so I feel like if this was an identity that was like realized and everybody realized it, I think at least what I would do is I think a lot of my time would just be spent in service, helping other people, volunteering, acting in love, not in love, but like acting out of love with everybody, I meet.
yeah. I like your point about service. I think when you feel like content, you feel like giving it back, which is nice. Yes. Thank you everyone for sharing. That was really thoughtful. I just want to show this picture that I found from the Gita that maybe you've seen before. And it just shows it. Yeah, you've seen it before, Graham. And whenever I see it, I like to spot myself on where I am in this and kind of see, and it helps me visualize what's happening. And yeah, it's just a cool picture, and you can kind of see souls going from, one body to another. And then I don't know, I'm kind of drawing it, but you can't see. And yeah, nice visualization. All right. Yeah, so it's freeing to know that we are not this costume and we're not a label and we are something more, more sacred. And it's a sacred identity that we need to uncover. A lot of times when we talk about self-discovery, there's this misconception that, or I don't want to say misconception, there's an idea that I need to find something more and I need to find something truer and I need to attach myself to something or someone to discover myself. But it self-discovery in this case starts by uncovering ourselves instead of finding new identities and seeing, hey, what am I if I just take out these designations and these bodily things that I associate myself with, even though I know they're important for my being and life, but uncovering that it's a stripping away of the costume to get to that self-discovery stage. Um, yeah. Okay. And then also it's liberating to know that we're not that costume and we see ourselves as that spiritual spark and spiritual soul. Now I want to come back to the quote that we read, and I'll say it again. So the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, the world will tell you. And maybe this quote has a different meaning for you now, maybe it doesn't, but if you don't know who you are, basically, society will tell you who you are. Like you are, you're this class, you're this race, you're this gender, you're this nationality, you're a winner, you're a loser, you're a failure, whatever. So many designations that people put on us. And if we don't know who we are, then we're so much more likely to identify with those designations that come on us. Um, and we feel more vulnerable and less secure, even though we think that these identities will help us feel more secure. Okay. And then commonly, I want to say the solution to this problem of identity is that let's try to fix the outside world, every detail of it. Let's fix our people, let's fix how we, do these things. And we're being told that our gender is wrong, our background is wrong, or our weight is wrong, whatever, our social role that we have right now is not worthy. So let's try to fix that. Let's start a peace movement. Let's change the world. Um, and let's do that so we can try to even the playing ground. And there are so many ideas that people strive towards. And while that's a good thing to potentially try for, the sages of the Bhakti Yoga tradition say that the playground is already even, and there's no need to even the playground. And you may ask how? There's so much discrimination, there's so much injustice, there's war, there's this and that. But if we go deeper, we'll start to realize that these are happening because of our designations, because of identities that are not that spiritual soul. And we can really be even on a spiritual plane. And an example is that even the sameness in this world is different. It's like if you have two identical twins, on the surface, they seem similar, but are they similar? No, they could be two entire different people. And that just tells you more about the bodily similarities, and we have a big push on unity, but we can be even on a spiritual level by understanding that, hey, you're a spirit soul and you're a spiritual soul, and I respect you and I love you, and for that, and imagine just looking at someone and you're like, hey, you are also a spirit soul, and you're deserving of that love and kindness as well. So trying to find that unity and equalness in a spiritual level Okay, and I really like this meme slide. A lot of times we say, everything's fine. How are you? I'm fine. You know, even if the world is tearing itself apart, we're like, oh, everything's fine. But is everything fine? Um, we sometimes try to convince ourselves. Now I want to bring up this Sanskrit term called Atma Gyan. So Atma in Sanskrit means the self. Jnana means the knowledge. So Atmagyan means the knowledge of the self. And the sages of the yoga tradition have this approach of Atmagyan, of knowing yourself and knowing who you are. If you actually know who you are, you will realize you're fine. But if you don't, then maybe you'll just say I'm fine on the surface level. But I want to say that you're not all these layers, and you're the soul not touched by any of these. And yeah, this is really this ancient science of bhakti yoga that, not ancient in a way that it should be in a museum, but it's rather the timeless wisdom of understanding the self and who we are outside of these layers. Um, and I want to start to kind of have some type of action steps or understand this further. But so now that we know who we are, how can we connect with our inner self? And I'm gonna talk about the mind now. And this is a really funny picture. Uh, but I describe the mind is like a monkey, not a drunken monkey, and not a monkey, it's a drunken monkey. And then more than that, it's a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion. And then it's a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion, possessed by a ghost. So when we think about finding that connection with ourselves, it's important to remember that where we direct our attention, our mind, our attention to, that's where our energy flows. Um, and it's really important to understand the mind and how it functions and how we can direct our attention to find that inner happiness. Um, yeah, and even in the Gita, there's one verse that says that the mind is harder to control than the wind. And if you've been in Chicago like me, you call the Windy City, and you're walking, you would know how hard it is to even walk sometimes because the wind is just coming onto you. Imagine it's even harder to control than the wind itself. So just a fun thing to remember. And I'm going to talk about some basic steps to mindfulness now, kind of diving deeper into the inner self. And here are some things I found. So, one, step out of autopilot. Two, awareness of your body, emotions, and breath. A lot of times you'll see that before starting any meditation, people will ask you to breathe for 5 seconds or something like that, just to be more in control of your emotions. The third is to release tension or heightened emotions. It could be positive or negative emotions. And then lastly, because our mind is so strong, the solution is not to um, take out every engagement. Sometimes people will say, oh, I'm going to fast for 10 days. I'm going to live like the yogis. And, I'm going to go to the mountains and do some kind of yoga. So many different things. And yeah, there are different ways to do that. But here we're talking about directing the mind to your object of high regard and shelter, and finding that shelter in a higher and more positive engagement. Um, it could be reading more about it, or it could be associating with those who have knowledge of their self and in that spiritual community growing. Yeah. And I know you might be taking notes. Graham, do you want me to stay on this slide? If you're taking notes, I don't want to go ahead. I can go ahead? Okay. Okay, I can share these slides to you later as well. Okay. And then these are some affirmations that can also help. So one of them is, I'm not my thoughts, I'm the observer. And then I'm a soul having a human experience. Or three, I am not my titles, likes, or labels. And then I'm going to share something practical that has helped me in my life. And this is a trick that SBK Shiv Swami has shared on social media before. And I think it's really helpful. And people have tried to follow this. And I do this as well in my morning routine. And he also says that try to get control of the morning hours of your life to feel more sustained throughout. So this is the 15, 15, 15, 15 rule. So the first 15 minutes move your body, whether that be yoga or anything that you do it for 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes meditate. One of the practices that I follow is mantra meditation, where you chant the Maha Mantra. It's the Hare Krishna mantra, if you guys know about that. We chant it in our Kirtan Soul Fest as well. And I do it on beats in the morning. So you can also try that. And if you need help in, needing something that you want to incorporate with meditation, there's a whole meditation guide that I've seen, and I can share it with you if you need help with finding that meditation. And then 15 minutes read. Read something that exercises your mind, gives you some wisdom. One of the books that I've been currently reading is called The Journey Within. Here, I have it on my desk. It's by Radhanath Swami. And we actually have a book club that's following this. It's run by Carolina. She's one of our members at Wisdom Wednesdays. And there's a group of folks who've been reading the book together. And they have reflections and discussion questions, and stuff like that. So 15 minutes read. And I can give some suggestions if you need them. There's some books like The Four Questions or Hiding in Unnatural Happiness, or so many different things. There's a lot of books around that Swami too. So 15 minutes read. Something that takes your mind to a higher reality and helps you understand more about yourself. And then the last thing is 15 minutes reflect. Sometimes our life moves so fast that we forget to slow down and just write our thoughts down of what's been happening. So 15 minutes reflect, and it doesn't have to be a really positive experience that you're getting from your life. It could just be, oh, I had a really bad day today. Whatever it is, reflect. It's nice to be with your thoughts too. And when you do that, I feel that it's easier to find gratitude, or it's when you let your emotions out, it feels lighter. At least I've experienced that. So maybe if you like journaling, you could do that. Yeah, or whatever. Sometimes reflection can mean telling a friend, sharing it with a friend. That could be reflecting. Yeah, so this is something that I wanted to share that has helped me, and maybe can help you as well as an action item in your life. Yes. And then lastly, I just want to have some time for reflection, and that was the end of the content, but just reflection now. Um, and you can speak from your heart, but these are some questions that can help guide us. That any takeaways that you had from this presentation, maybe anything that stuck with you, or and then what is one thing you feel that you can do to feel more connected with yourself, spiritually? Um, and then are there any challenges that you feel that you're encountering or you might encounter um, in your way? Yeah, you can take some time maybe. Okay, just give me a thumbs up if you guys are ready to discuss. Okay, thank you. And do you want to start us off?
I think one of the key takeaways was just about, I think a lot of times we're not aware of how much the outside world is able to influence us. And I think just by discussing about it, becoming aware, we're able to take the first step of escaping this. I don't want to call it virtual reality, but this virtual reality we live in created by others.
Yeah.
And are there any challenges that are in your way? I think the world is in my way because I can change my way of thinking, but if the remaining 8 billion people do not change their way of thinking, it's a constant battle. And I think throughout life, it'll be a challenge I face.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, okay.
You have to say, well, going back to the two truths and a lie, one of the lies probably would have been, I never have a bad day. I'm not sure. I mean, takeaways from this. This is not to diminish this presentation because this makes me think deeply.
Yeah.
But this is also the reason that I keep coming to Wisdom Wednesday. It's just the direction that we're trying to go. And yes, there are things that get in the way. Everyday frustrations and temptations. One thing that can, yeah, I would have to say the meditation part. I mean, I do Tai Chi, and which is a form of meditation. Yoga, Hatha yoga is physical meditation, but it's also, I think that life itself, we do karma yoga. I think I brought up this example previously where somebody asked me to do something for them. Sure. And I go ahead and do it. And they don't pay me, they don't compensate me, and I don't expect it. I did somebody a favor because they had a need. And it was opening somebody's refrigerator that had been frozen shut. And well, I used brute strength. I mean, in body mass, I slammed my shoulder against the door, and it finally broke open it because I broke the ice that was, had frozen it shut. I mean, that's just one example. And the other was recently, this is like 6 months ago, the receptionist in the office where I work, she said, "Can you help me with this?" And her car had, she just wanted to make sure that her car had adequate oil. She says, "I've got the oil right here. All I need you to do is just open this up." And so, again, I just opened up the filler cap and then just put the oil in. I mean, it was so simple, but again, I didn't expect anything for her. I was glad to help her out. So that's probably where Ion, you were talking about service right there. That's just two tiny examples.
Yeah, I love that. Just giving a helping hand sometimes can go a long way. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about your high tea, how do you say it again? Tai Chi. Tai Chi. Okay, sorry, I always mess those words up. I was thinking as like a way to move too, like as a 15-minute, and I want to try doing something like that. It's really inspiring that you have that practice in your life. Um, yeah.
You
And
probably
yeah,
saw me doing it, when I mean, it was easy to do that with the rhythm of the music you were playing. I have to say, I love your music.
yeah, yeah, me too. It's so nice. Yeah. Yeah, I would say one thing I can do to feel more connected. I would say the 15-minute thing that we talked about, move. I feel like I need to get more movement in my life or like connection with nature. I think that's also missing. Yeah, I've seen some people say that when you see beauty in nature, you're able to understand the beauty of the divine or whatever you consider, you know. So I want to try to do that. Um, any challenges? Yeah, just echoing what Ian said, when there are so many people that have different views and maybe not the best in your opinion, and it feels harder to follow through with what you want to do and what you want to believe. So just having people that can help ground me, just maybe having friends or association like we're having today, it helps to talk about it. Um, yeah, yeah. Right. Any last comments that anyone wants to share? I know we're a little bit over time, but
You won't get any complaints from me.
yeah. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate having you here today. So wholesome. All right. Thank you everyone for joining, and for giving
It
your
was
time.
so wonderful. Sorry I couldn't join in the whole time. I really appreciated it so much. So wonderful.
Thank you, Dana. We're so grateful for you. And even while you were driving, you're on the call. So I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me be here.
No, yeah, thank you for being here. Um, and thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week. If you're in town, we have a special Juneteenth Soul Fest tomorrow, like I mentioned. And if you would like to, I know I mentioned like the book club. If that's something you're interested in, you can message me or I can email you the information. But they meet every Thursday, and they're reading The Journey Home, I believe. So if you wanna,
Do you have something
uh,
going on this weekend, on Saturday? Because I know you had something last weekend. I wasn't able to make it.
there's Veg Fest on Saturday, I believe. Ian, do you know about that?
Yeah, so on Saturday there's in downtown Redmond Park, there's a veg fest happening. And at the same time from 9:30 to 11 there's a free outdoor yoga event with like sound healing, vinyasa. Um, so yeah, and if you do come say hi. I'll be there. We'll have a Bhakti Studio booth there, so would
And
love to
it's
meet.
at the park.
Downtown Redmond Park.
And do you
Okay,
have a website or something that we could
Yeah,
share?
I'll send the Eventbrite.
Okay, thank you.
thank
Yeah,
you.
downtown Redmond Park is like the big circle one looking one. Just a second. Uh, okay, I have just put it in the chat.
Oh, okay, good. See if I can do this without losing the picture. Oh, man.
Yeah, but hopefully you can make it. Come say hi, or even on Thursday if you can make it. I miss seeing you around, so I would love to meet you and see you
Oh,
in real life beyond just the rectangle on the screen.
yes.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you everyone for joining, and we'll see you either this weekend, Thursday, or back on Wisdom Wednesdays. And I want to say, next week we'll have a special Wisdom Wednesdays. It'll be in person and on Zoom. So if you're able to come to the Bhakti studio, we'll have Harivamsa come and give a talk at the Bhakti studio if you're able to come in person. But we'll also have our online Zoom meeting open, and I'll be there, and we can all listen in on Zoom.
And the
But just wanted to
topic
let you know.
is procrastinating procrastination.
Nice.
Thank
Love
you.
that. All right. Thank you, everyone, and hope you have a good evening.
As well.